We're going to ask each of the presenters to provide their top tip. We've heard a lot of tips and tricks and data and research on various topics. So I just wanted to take this little period of time for you to reiterate or share your thoughts on what is the most helpful tip that you've learned in your activities and research. Start with Lisa.
I guess my top tip is going to be kind to yourself. I think as parents, we often put a lot of pressure on ourselves to kind of do things as perfectly as we can. And it's just not going to be that. So if I need 20 minutes, I'm not going to give my kids a pack of crayons, right? If I need 20 minutes, I'm sticking them in front of the screen because that makes me a better parent. So I think I don't do it all the time, but I think about when I do it and I use it deliberately. So I guess my top tip would be to be kind to yourself because we are all truly just doing the best that we can.
Wonderful. Thanks, Lisa. Over to you, Becky and Jake.
For recommendations and guidelines, I know that the daily guidelines can seem a little bit daunting sometimes. So I think sometimes thinking about them as more like a weekly thing. So if you have like a little more of a sedentary day, then the next day try to be more physically active, and rest days are important, stuff like that. So just thinking about it more as a weekly thing makes it a little bit more manageable. That goes along with Lisa's point of being kind to yourself. If you're not perfect today, be a little bit better tomorrow. It's just habit building, all of this stuff.
I guess my favorite tip from what Jake shared was make it fun. So I know that times are a little bit hard right now for everyone and stressful, and I don't want anyone to be stressed about trying to get a certain amount of activity in. Try and make things fun, whether it's dancing in the kitchen to music while you're making a good breakfast or putting on some really loud music while you're working out, whatever makes you feel good during that time. That would be my tip to make things fun.
That's a great tip. We just need to have fun and smile and laugh and do things that we enjoy. Thanks for that. Over to you, Sabrina.
So I study co-parenting and feeding. So I think my big tip in that area would be to talk to your partner about feeding kids. A lot of people talked about what they're going to put on the table, but there's lots of other things you can talk about, like what the food environment is going to be in your house and what that's going to look like on a day-to-day basis. So that's my tip.
Great, thanks, Sabrina. Communicating is important. Even though we're all, isolated in little bubbles, it's still important to have open lines of communication. Over to you, Erin. What's your tip?
Yeah, so I guess two main tips surrounding breakfast would be to try and eat breakfast on more days than you don't. It's super important to just eat something first thing in the morning to get your energy up and give you nutrients that you need for the day. And then in terms of like serving your children breakfast, just try and serve a variety of different foods for different food groups to try and ensure that they're getting enough nutrients from different types of foods.
Yeah, variety is important, and just to try and change it up and just do the best we can when we can. Thanks, Sarah. And over to you, Flora.
My main tip, so I studied dietary calcium and vitamin D. I'm going to branch out a little bit, and although I'm no expert on vitamin D and calcium beyond food, it's the summer now, or spring's coming, and I feel like this will tie things in nicely. My tip would be to get outside when you can and get some sun, because we all do know sun is your best friend when it comes to vitamin D. As for the winter, which is behind us now, thank goodness, considering a vitamin D supplement, because in the winter we do know we are low in Canada.
Thanks, Flora. I totally agree. Winter's behind us and the spring and summer is in front of us, and we need to take advantage of the wonderful weather that's in front of us. Over to you, Valerie.
I think if I had a single takeaway tip, it's to focus on the basics: moving your bodies, sleeping well, eating foods that are good for us. They're called the basics, not because they're easy, but because they're important. And I think if we can all just try and get those covered and look after ourselves to the best that we can, give yourself permission about all the rest, then that's how we can help others.